so drum industry news. We like to highlight things that the general public might not be super aware of, but we talk about this kind of stuff a lot at the shop, and it's just a fun way of just bringing up different types of things that are happening behind the scenes that people might not be aware of. This week, I want to talk about drum shops closing, which sounds like it's going to be a really depressing topic, but it's actually a really happy and like mutually beneficial situation. We recently inherited, absorbed the retail store of Hershey Percussion that was in New York. Dave Hershey ran that shop for 47 years.
Wow.
And absolutely incredible. Him and his wife ran the shop, and he also is still teaching and still teaches out of there, that same location. But they closed down the storefront. But just like real quick, thank you so much to the Hershey family and everyone. Like, it was such a smooth transition. We had seen that they were going to be having a sale because they would be closing the store. Reached out to them, talked with them, met them for the first time. I'd never been over there.
I had never been either.
Just got to know them really well throughout the process, and we were able to get some gear. And this shop is overloaded right now. We got
very much so.
We got so much stuff. We have more to put out still, but this has happened a few times.
Yeah, this has happened twice since just the past couple of years.
Yeah.
What was the first?
The first one was Woodland Percussion. That was in Avondale.
Avondale. So he was mostly a custom drum builder, but he also dabbled in the retail side of things, and then he realized that that's a tough business, and he just wanted to build drums for God's sakes. That's all he wanted to do. So he said, you know what? I'm not going to do the retail side. I'm just going to build custom drums. That's where his heart was. Yeah. That's what he loved.
That's the passion.
And we absorbed that inventory. And then again with Hershey Percussion, we found out that, hey, you know what? He's closing down shop. Let's reach out to him, see what we can do to kind of help, maybe facilitate that a little bit easier for him, and maybe absorb some of that inventory and that gear. And it helps him, it helps us. And it was nice to meet him finally, because I had always heard of Hershey Percussion, and I've been with Drums Etc. for 20 some years, very long time. And I know the drum shops around. I know the drum shops all over the United States. And his is one that, my gosh, it's right up the street. But something very confusing to me, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I'll just go ahead and say it. I thought Hershey Percussion was in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
I didn't know this until last week.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's in York. It blew my mind, and I thought to myself, self, if my last name, and I said this to a couple other guys, so I'm going to say it here at the podcast, if my name was Sean York, and I wanted to make a drum shop, I probably wouldn't call it York Drum in Lancaster, PA.
I say again, names are important.
It would be too confusing being right next to York. I don't know.
Yeah,
to me, it was a little confusing. It confused me. That's not hard to do. It's not hard to confuse me, but I'm willing to admit that I had no idea that Hershey Percussion was in York all of these years.
Yeah.
No idea.
Totally get it. I could totally get that.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
Finding out that you didn't live in Ephrata blew my mind. I thought you lived in Ephrata for years.
I don't. I'm Ephrata adjacent. But when this sort of thing happens, everyone gets all... there's like a buzz when a shop closes or something. We ran into this. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit, I'll say. When we moved to this location from New Holland Avenue, we had this big sale. I was a part of it. We were all part of it. And to get hype around it, we essentially started calling it a liquidation sale. But we weren't going out of business.
Right.
We were just trying to get inventory down to move to this new location. And every now and then we'll still get someone saying, "Oh, I thought you guys closed." And I'm like, "Man, we should not have done that."
Yeah, there's certain things, of course, what you just said is totally true, is the name is everything. And what you're calling it, you have to be real careful with that sort of thing.
Yeah,
because people will draw their own conclusions immediately. Liquidation says you're going out of business. That's it. Store closing, that didn't help either because technically the store was closing. The business wasn't closing, so we had a store closing sign because that's what you get when you go to these places to buy your sale paraphernalia.
Stuff, yeah.
Store closing was definitely true, but folks thought that we were closing for real.
Yeah.
Legit. And when did you move here? I know we're going to get into
Year
that.
and a half ago.
Okay, year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been here since he's
Okay.
been in town. An interesting thing that happens around that buzz when people hear about that is every drummer wants something, but no drummer wants everything. And that's where drum shops come in. You know what I mean? I'm like, you might want to get a good deal on that kit or this snare drum or those snare wires, whatever. But do you want to at one time buy 20 snare drums?
Right.
10 vintage drums, 8 drum sets, 100 cymbals,
And now-
drum head. You know what I mean? And all the little things along with it. That's tough.
And you could tell yourself as a drummer, you're like, well, I could always sell that stuff. Guess what? Selling drums is a lot harder than you realize because there's a lot of people doing it, and there's just because you have something doesn't mean somebody's going to buy it. So
Right.
you can tell yourself, oh well, now's the time. I could just sell this stuff. It doesn't matter. Well, when did you come up with that saying there? That's a good one. I'm like,
Literally
you just
on
blew
the
my-
fly.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Every drummer wants something,
yeah,
but no drummer
I
wants
was like,
everything.
you must have been up
No,
late last
I-
night thinking of.
I got
Wow,
smudged it. It was
just
written on my
now.
hand. No, just now. Yeah, that's
He's
it.
in the flow.
Wonderful.
Sometimes, man.
You're
We got
feeling
good
it. You're
people.
feeling it, bro.
We got good energy in the room.
Yeah.
He's just
That
got
was
the perfect
good.
fill right there,
That's it. You just
I'm going to ask you what you said later on because that's.
I just said it
that's
again,
good.
so I didn't forget
Okay.
it. But
That's
I probably,
great.
everyone listening, I'd probably just changed it, and every time I say it, it's gonna be different.
Right.
But it is one of those interesting things. But it's one of those. It happens, you know what I mean, and and obviously we gave them time to run a big sale, try to get as much out of their inventory as possible, and then they called us, and
Yeah.
and on the fly, we weren't expecting it. The same, I showed up that morning talking with them that Wednesday morning about what was going on, and then we dealt with the business side of things, and then it was, hey, could you come back today and do it? And I was like, yes, I'll do it. And then I was like, give me a couple hours, drove back here, grabbed you,
Yep.
grabbed some help, rented a truck across the street, made it happen.
It made it all happen, and
Yeah.
I was leaving a little early that night as well.
I know, there's a lot of calculations
to make that
going
video,
on.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to stay because I love doing this type,
Yeah.
this sort of thing. Like it's just so much fun to me. So I'm like, I felt bad about having to leave, but
It's all good.
we made
It's all good.
we may do.
Ed, have you ever, when your time here or anywhere else, a shop closes down that you were like your go-to spot or anything like that?
I've not had that wonderful experience of,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You get to go in and ogle at stuff, but it's a really weird thing, and thankfully the times that it's happened that we've been involved with it, it's always a choice, At least for me personally, with the couple times we've done it, it's always been, hey, we'll kind of want to retire out of this and focus on teaching.
That's what Rick
or I
did.
want to play drums. Same, yeah.
And Dave was the same way. He's like, you know what? I just want to teach.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. And I think everyone gets to that crossroads in their life where you have to make a decision. You're like, am I really feeling the retail side of things? Business is changing. You have to always adapt. Whereas teaching, that doesn't really change all that much.
Right.
The tools you use to teach certainly does, but the fundamentals will always be there. So that doesn't change. And it was neat to find out his history as well with being an orchestral player and working on timpani, and we have like that connection, which is kind of neat, and probably and could have had for a very long time had we been closer. But I think there was always that stigma back in the day where oh, you're another drum shop, you're our competition, and blah, why have that?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that. It really shouldn't be.
Yeah. I want to go on the record saying every drum shop out there, we want to get to know you. We want to be your friend. We literally have been talking about for a long time, filming trips and us visiting shops.
Yeah.
Drums Etc. goes to Hershey Percussion and film it
Cool.
and go it and you know what I
Cool.
mean. And it's one of
Yeah.
those things where look, we're all part of the drumming community. Listen, with the internet and everything, there's so many different things equalizing the marketplace that I'm not worried about. A shop down the street or in another state or this or that. It's one of those things where small independent drum shops. Like we should use each other as a resource and be much more connected and not feel ashamed when you go into a store and you've been to another place to mention that you got it there.
Well, that was
You know what I
kind
mean?
of
It's one
that was
those
kind
things
of
that-
the idea behind the 5-star drum shop program that was years ago. Whereas, you were basically bought into a club, and if you were a 5-star dealer, that would help the independent shops with Pool as far as like being able to do big buy-ins that were just exclusive to the 5-star shops and things like that. So there has been a little bit of a network, going on for a while, but still that stigma remains. Like, oh, you're a drum shop, I'm not supposed to like you. And it's just like, no, I love visiting stores.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, since you came from Nashville, did you visit Forks?
Yes, many times.
I've been to Forks. That's a great shop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think they moved locations over the past 10 years since I've been there.
That's right. They did.
But
They did. But yeah, good shop.
Yeah.
Gary Fork.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
yes.
knew him a little bit, and
Excellent.
I bought a lot of shakers and bells, which
Heck
I
yeah.
love, and you guys have a great selection of that here.
Yeah.
which is cool.
I know.
Yeah, we're big into it, man. I'm just leaning more into percussion lately, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it kind of like, I talked about that with Rick on our History of Drums, Etc. Podcast we did with him. Just like you tend to lean into the stuff that you're interested in at different times, a little bit more and a little bit less, and by doing the drum circle things and meeting new people, it's like, hey, what do you need? What do you want? We were talking a little bit downstairs. It's like what we have in the store is determined by what Sean and I think you want. So if anyone comes in the store and they don't see something they want, tell us. We can, one, get it for you.
Right.
Or if you're in a time crunch, that's cool. But
Yeah.
we'll get it in anyway, and then we'll have it for the next guy. And that's
Yeah.
how we decide what's to stock is what's selling and what you're telling us, the feedback. And we have no corporate entity just deciding what budget goes into what place. If everyone walks in the door and says that, we need djembes. We need djembes. Forget drum sets. We need djembes. We need to have 1,000 djembes. Then that'll happen.
Yeah.
But it's just, the communication barrier
Yeah.
thing.
And you just have to ask. If someone comes
Yeah.
in looking for something, you're like, I didn't see what I was looking for. What's that? And if they say something that we can get, I'll say, hey, you know what? I'll write up a ticket and see if I can get this in for you. I'll call you when it comes in. You come check it out.
Yeah. Don't have to pay for it. Just come
Yeah.
in and check it out. It's
Come check
something.
it out.
If it's this interesting to
Yep.
you, then likely it's something that
It's
someone else
great.
would like. So
It's
perfect.
awesome. I
Yeah,
would love
yeah.
that if I went to a place and I was looking for something in particular and I just wanted to see it, and a guy or a gal behind the counter said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll order it in. You come check it out. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire on this, but it's just a good thing to do. Because it's great to see the instruments.
Yeah.
You could order shakers online all day long, but you going in and shaking them, it's like that's what tells you. It's like,
Right.
I need something that sounds like this and something. Like, go over there and shake them.
Yeah.
That's the best way to find out what you
Yep.
like or what your mind is telling you.
Totally agree.
Just
Yep.
go. There it is.
Yep.
It was a set of pro maracas all along I was looking for.
Yeah.
Here I thought I needed a studio shaker. Nope. It was the yellow Matador Pro Maracas.
Yep. That's the sound. That's the feel. Interacting with the object is huge. That's why we have stuff.
Yeah.
Putting the sticks in your hands, all that kinds of stuff. You got to feel it. Cymbals, everything.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, speaking of stuff you have to feel and hear and check out, we're going to jump into our next segment, Hall of Fame